Stats 23 here. In today's knife therapy, we have the BestechMan Ronan. This knife comes in at $52, and I think this is a solid EDC choice. We're going to get into it, and I'll tell you why I think so. The first design from the BestechMan line was the Dundee. I reviewed this one a while back. If you didn't catch this one, I'll try to leave a link to this. But they did a lot of stuff right here for the price. I mean, just look at this action. Ridiculous action, good looking. And this is Bestech's more affordable line compared to their Bestech branded budget in stuff that's usually, you know, 70 to 80 and up. So it was nice seeing Bestech kind of branching down, trying to give more people access to their knives. And I think they are an excellent manufacturer. Everything I've ever really handled from them, they do a lot of stuff right. So let's get into this one real quick. You have an overall length of 7.9 inches. So it's a nice full-size EDC blade. You got a blade length of 3.3 inches. Grip area from here to the back of 3.7 inches. Handle scale thickness from here to here, 0.58 inches. So above average, and it's going to fill that hand out nicely. Closed width in the pocket from the two widest points is 1.44 inches. Blade stock thickness coming in at 0.136 inches. And behind the edge thickness on my particular knife ranges from around 13 to 14 thousandths behind the edge, sharpened at 19 degrees per side. So let's take a closer look at this. And this is what got me to pull a trigger on this knife, is this blade shape right here. You have this beautiful drop point, pretty close to being a spear point. Is pretty similar on both sides. You have that low-lying tip that sits a little below center line, and that that makes for a great all-around cutter. Got a blasted stone wash finish on here. They also come in black as well. You got their new little BestechMan logo there. And you have a high flat grind. You know, it's kind of like a slicer grind. It's a full flat all the way right here. And then you have this little piece of flat. Nicely done. You have a nice chamfer for a nice added aesthetic there. You have a good sharpening choil that clears the plunge, and you should have some sharpening life before it starts to widen up in the back. Dual thumb studs. And you have a row of jimping that sits where my finger is. Of course, I could overshoot it if I wanted to, and they could have extended a little bit longer for all you jimping people out there, but it's nice and grippy. Your point is pretty needle-like for your piercing task, and this could be excellent for doing drag cuts like that. Because of that tip being low, you're not going to have to raise your hand all the way up to use that tip. The blade steel is another thing that drew me to this one. 14C 28N stainless steel, one of my favorite budget steels. Between that and 154 CM, those are my two favorite budget in steels. It takes a very wicked edge. I mean, very bitey edge, and it holds it for a respectable amount of time, and it's highly corrosion resistant. So because they have this blasted stone wash finish on there and 14C, I'm not as worried about it on here than I say I would be with like a 8CR blade or D2. And you can feel it that they did some finishing work before they just blasted it to cover up stuff. You know, it's nice and smooth finishing. Very nicely done. And like I said earlier in the specs, this thing comes down nice and thin at 13 to 14 thousandths behind the edge. And they kept the edge bevel under 20. Excellent. So this thing should perform outstanding. Why don't we find out? The knife came to me with a really good edge on it and is slicing very well. Definitely has to do with the excellent edge geometry and a thinner edge bevel. Love seeing that. It makes this all my testing so much easier, and it makes me actually want to do the testing. And of course, it's comfortable doing this light duty stuff. Most knives are, but definitely think it'll remain comfortable because of the feel in hand. Now we move on to the Pine 2x4 to test out those ergos and to see how that edge is doing. It was very easy to make fine curls with it, so I decided to ramp up that pressure into the wood just to see if there was any spots on the handle that were going to be uncomfortable, or if the clip was going to get to my hands. But my hands, the way they sat, it was very, very comfortable. And as you can see, it wanted to bite deep into that wood. This is definitely the perfect blade shape for doing these dry cuts. This one has a nice thin tip, so it's going to be nice and precise when doing those type of cuts, and slicing in hand cuts very, very easily. And all the stuff on a flat cutting surface, cutting board, was very, very easy with the knife. I don't recall any of this material giving this knife any trouble whatsoever. It was blasting through everything, and I was able to do it fast. I didn't even speed it up as fast as I normally do, because I was moving fast through it, especially through this denim. Watch how fast I go through this denim. It had a good bit of bite to the edge, and the edge still felt excellent. Now we move on to the sisal rope, and you're gonna have to see this to believe it. It is push cutting, and push cutting easily. It was hardly any downward force being used. I just decided to see how fast I could go through it. We were able to get a good pinch grip on this knife because of the thicker scales. It was nice and comfortable, nice and controlled. And once again, that thinner tip makes this job a lot easier, especially with that thinner edge bevel. I think we ended up making 50 cuts all together, and the edge still felt like it could have done twice that. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that cutting footage as much as I enjoyed it. And let's see what that edge is like. It still feels really good. Definitely could strop it back up, make it, yeah. That's what I thought. Bestech usually does a good job with their heat treat, especially on their 14C, I've noticed. Very, very nice. Wicked sharp. Stropping it, it'll be hair shaving sharp again in no time. All right, let's close it up and take a look at the action. Like I said, you have dual thumb studs, easy access to them, nice and snappy on bearings, especially being that this is an Axis style lock. It once it clears that Omega spring tension, it just flies out, and then pull it back, and it's absolutely no tension to that blade whatsoever. Comfortable thumb studs, removable if you want. Easy access to the left side, and easy access to the Axis lock, or whatever they're calling that. Check out these handles. These handles are excellent. You have a beautifully contoured G10 on this that's smooth. It's not slippery or anything, but nice and smooth. They got a nice chamfer going around, so there's no sharp spots where you don't need it. And like I was saying in the video, in the cutting, super, super comfortable, because they went a little above the 0.5, the ½ inch thickness, which always is a good thing, I find, when you're, a knife that you're gonna be using and using hard. Very comfortable in the hand, no hot spots for me. I was kind of worried because you have, this area and this area right here is kind of forcing you right there, but my medium-sized hands fit perfectly in there. I also let my brother, who wears a large size glove, do some cutting with it, and he said that his hands fit excellent as well, because his finger went here, and then this one kind of sat on top of it. He said he didn't even feel it, because they did a good job of smoothing out this little hump right here. Your hardware on here, you have a decorative pivot for the BestechMan brand. Your body screws are T6. Unfortunately, I would love to see those as T8, but they seem to be nice quality screws. They do sit a little bit proud of the scales. That's not something that bothers me. Your pivot is a T8. Your clip is a T6. I lost a screw taking it apart. But one thing I see that they did is inset the clip into the scales. Love it. A lot of companies leave them on top of the scales, and then it could get hung up. Perfect ramp. This clip worked excellent in and out of the pocket. And your screws are even countersunk. They also, another thing that I love, if you're going to put a lanyard hole, kind of hide it, I think. And this is the perfect way to do it. They put a hidden lanyard pin. You have an orange G10 backspacer on this one. Came in several different variations. I will leave links in the description to this knife if you're interested. Now, I think they really missed the mark with not making this a left-handed reversible because this is an axis lock. Axis locks are completely ambidextrous due to the nature of the lock. So I definitely think they missed out for the lefties out there by not having left-handed or making a left-handed version, one of the two. But definitely a missed opportunity. All right, let's take a look at the inside because the weight's pretty good on here. Tons of internal milling on both sides. Awesome. I think they could have made it even lighter if they would have just put, just a little piece right here to house the lock. But, whatever. They're trying to save money to make these more affordable for everybody. And the balance point. That's one thing that Bestech has always been phenomenal with. Perfect. I've never had a Bestech, especially a Bestech design knife, that was not balanced. Let's get a quick weight on it. First in grams, 122.5 grams or 4.3 ounces. That's A-okay for me. Now let's check out the lockup on this. Absolutely. When I say bank vault, no play up or down, no side to side. Super, super good job with that. Now, one thing that I will have to say about the Axis style lock on here, the Omega springs are really thick. And both, I have two of these, and both of them are pretty hard to pull back. I even tried opening it and wedging this open, putting a little pin in there and left it for 2 days. And that helped a hair. But if you're somebody who likes to fidget with your knife and you just, that's going to bother you and you're mechanically inclined or you like to tinker, all you have to do is take off like you're going to clean the knife, pull the Omega springs out, and squeeze them together just a little bit to let some of that tension off the Omega springs. Not a whole lot. I mean, just a little bit. Just maybe bend them in once, and that should be enough. Because the reason why they use those thicker springs on this, I think, is because the weight of the blade and how it's set up. That was the only way to keep this from having a good enough detent. Now, where I have it, it sits in there nicely. I can do this. It's kind of popping up a little bit, but I have to really give it a good whack like that to get it open. If that's not something you want to do, then this might not be the knife for you. Now for some quick size comparisons, we have the BestechMan Dundee and the Sencut Watuga. Both of these are good representations in overall length. The Dundee's just a hair longer and the Sencut's just a hair shorter. Next up, we have the Ontario Rat Model 1 and 2. It's in the middle of those two. You have close to the same cutting edge as the Rat 1. And lastly, we have the Spyderco PM2 and Power 3. It's a little bit smaller than the PM2, really close to it though, but you're getting a good bit more cutting edge than the PM2, and you have about the same grip area as the PM2. All right, now for my nitpicks and complaints. I don't love the blasted. I would have loved just a regular stonewash blade, but like I said, being this is 14C, it's not going to corrode as easy as say D2 would. Secondly, like I said, the spring tension on the Omega springs is a little stout. Now, this is their first Axis style lock that I know of, so I'm sure they will, work on that. But I have two examples, and they're exactly the same. At least they're consistent, and they're both super smooth. And lastly, I definitely think there was a huge missed opportunity for not having it tapped for left-handed carry as well, because this is an Axis lock, a lock that you can, actuate from both hands with both sides of the knife easily. Definitely think there was a big missed opportunity for all you lefties out there, and that sucks. So overall, though, if the Omega spring thing is something that you don't care about, or something you don't mind adjusting if you do care about it, this is an outstanding knife. I know you saw how well this thing performed. It cut outstanding. It held an excellent edge. It was super comfortable in hand. That extra thickness to that scales, super, super nice. Very, very smooth action. I love this knife for the money. 52 bucks, it's a no-brainer for me. And like I said, it was one that I did not mind tinkering with. And I'm sure over time, those springs would have started to wear in some, but I'm not a patient man, so I fixed it myself. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.